This segment sponsored by Viking Psychiatry.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters with Viking Psychiatry, and I'm so thrilled to be joined by Sean Goddard, the owner of Viking Psychiatry. Hi, Sean.
Hi, good to see you again.
Welcome back. Look, we're doing a little matchy-matchy.
Great minds, right?
Right, exactly. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the rise of mental health burnout. Mm-hmm. And so it's so interesting because burnout is something that you would typically hear when you're at a workplace, right? Mm-hmm. You're tired of the job, you're working too hard, and it's like, oh, I have burnout. But now that's kind of applying to different things all over the place. So why do you think that change is happening?
Yeah, I think of it has a lot to do with lifestyle nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. Burnout on employment still occurs every single day. We are all so busy working and trying to get things done. We're in an environment that often doesn't allow for single family incomes, right? Everybody has to work. There's daycare that's involved, all those different things. But so there can be a lot of blurring between work-life boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. Between what you need to accomplish at work. I often joke that I think cell phones were one of the worst inventions ever made, right? Because it used to be that if something was needed, they call, they leave a message right on the answering machine, and you get to it when you get to it, and you get back to them. But now there's this instant need, right? When somebody sends you a message, you're supposed to respond right away. Plus, there's all that social media that's on top of it. We've got all these different things between Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, right? That's even work-related, and when people send messages and get notifications and all those types of things, we're just constantly being bombarded from so many different areas that we often don't even get a chance to rest or relax. So,
right, that's true. And I mean, what do you think as like looking at all of those things? Because I agree, the phone is a lot, right? And I once read this message that people are like, oh, well, once I get to a spot where I just have the mental capacity to respond to a message, then I will text you back. People are trying to, I guess, build boundaries in some ways, but it is like that anxiety of, oh, I have these pending messages, these pending emails at my fingertips. So what do you think are some of the biggest warning signs that people can identify to kind of see if they're reaching burnout?
Yeah, really good question, and you bring up a great point. Even with running a practice, right? I'm seeing clients all day long, but I also have emails coming in all day long. And what's the priority, and who do I respond to first? And that within itself can be overwhelming to people because there's this expectation that everybody is supposed to be the priority. So we can often see emotional numbness or detachment, right? We see people who just begin to say maybe something that they love or they're very passionate about has just overwhelmed them so much that they say, this doesn't have the priority that I need, right? I'm done, I'm drained, right? We can see worsening of sleep where our mind especially is running 100 miles an hour, and what did I do? What did I not do? Who did I not respond to? And sometimes even I can be famous for that 9 o'clock text because I realized that person who I saw texted me earlier in the day who I meant to respond as soon as I had that first availability, and then I forgot all about it. But then, oh my gosh, I don't want them to think that I don't care, right? Or I didn't see it, or those types of things. And so we can also have physical symptoms of burnout, just feeling drained and exhausted. I told you that I came back from training over this weekend, so I worked all weekend long too, right? And then came back, and Monday was an extremely busy day, and I sat down finally in the evening, and I actually turned to my wife and I just said, I am drained today, right? I'm drained. And sometimes there can be a sense of guilt in that, right? That there's still all these things that I needed to do, but I'm just drained and maybe didn't want to do it anymore. And so there can be a sense of emotional guilt to that, as well as all those things that we didn't do that we feel we had to have done or should have done.
So what about a solution for that? So people recognize the signs. They're like, okay, I'm definitely in this category. Sometimes self-care, is thrown out like, oh, well, just relax, do something that, is pleasurable to yourself. But does that really work?
Yeah. Self-care, absolutely. But I think it's also, for example, psychotherapy can be a very beneficial thing to go through and talk with somebody about creating some plans and some boundaries and some barriers can be very effective. But we've talked before that, well, what is self-care and what is that defined as? And you and I had talked about you wanting to watch a show, right? The name's right there on the tip of my tongue.
Scandal.
Scandal. There
So
we
good.
go.
I just got someone else on that show this week.
And so now somebody else is going to be doing 3 or 4 episodes for self-care, right? But I think more importantly, it becomes, and sometimes this can be gained through psychotherapy, but learning to set expectations and boundaries, right? For example, if I'm receiving a lot of emails during the day, and people, I've had people that reply back an hour later and say, I sent this email, right? Or later that day, I've sent this email, I haven't heard back from you. Setting boundaries and letting people know and understand what's realistic for you, right?
Yeah.
My typical response time is going to be 12 to 24 hours, right? And so that you don't feel that overwhelming responsibility or guilt of having to respond immediately, because often we allow something else to fall short to take care of something else. So it's about creating that kind of boundary with everybody, and also a self-understanding that that's okay, right? That we don't have to be 100% all the time, and that we need to put our priorities. People have talked about to-do lists forever, but I keep that active and going. And with today's technology, it's great, right? We have AI on our phone now, right? So I can just say, hey, blank, I'm not going to say it and make everybody's go off at home, right? But please remind me at 5 o'clock today that I need to do this, right? So then I'm able to immediately make sure that I'm going to prioritize that later, but then let it go and not worry about it anymore, because now I know that it's going to be there later for me to do.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I feel like we can talk about this subject all day. It's so good. Burnout, what it looks like, what we can do to improve it, because it takes each of us just really being mindful to that. So thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you.
Great chatting with you. And if you would like more information about Viking Psychiatry, we'll have their website listed below. Give them a call, check out their services, and I'll see you after the break.
This segment sponsored by Viking Psychiatry.